Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop. It is another match reaction show hosted by me, Matt, and I'm joined by a pair of Chris's. We got Bracky on one side, Golding on the other. Good evening, gentlemen. Finished at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United 0, Liverpool 2. Goldie? That wasn't the best, was it?
No, it wasn't. But we got 3 points. It's a dark night, and what more can you say? Got the stabilizing gun out and shot myself in the nuts pretty much for the entire second half, just to stay awake.
Well, we can talk about that to try to fill up a show's worth of time. Bracky, was your second half as eventful as that?
No, it was dull, wasn't it? It was dull. It's just one of those games that you get out of the way, get it won, which we did. If I'm honest, I think Kel had one save to make all game. We weren't great. It felt a bit looting away, but we were clinical this time. So yeah, it was one of those results. It was just like 6 out of 10, job done, move on. Key thing is we're keeping ourselves within 2 points of top spot, and we've got the opportunity now to put pressure on next week to go top before they play, which is all good.
Yeah, it's one of those games that all that matters is the 3 points. I know in our Telegram group before the match started, I was obviously well over optimistic for how the game was going. It really felt like we could put a smashing onto Sheffield United because, with no respect whatsoever, they are terrible. They are terrible, and they are going down if there is not some sort of major miracle. They don't even need a minor miracle. They're into the major territory, but you get those regular people that just go, all I want is the 3 points. Just get us the 3 points, results, all that doesn't matter. Like, just 3 points. And well, guess what? All those people, you got exactly what you wanted, because this is one of those games. Lineup wise, Goldie, we went with Kelleher in goal, Trent, Ibu, Van Dijk, Gomez playing at left back instead of Simicast. Midfield 3 is Szoboszlai, Endo, McAllister, and a striking triumvirate of Mo Salah, Cody Gakpo, and Luis Diaz. It's a pretty solid lineup. Can't be too upset about that. Simicast has to rest sometime.
No, I suppose you're getting somewhat used to changes. So yeah, it didn't surprise me that much. I was interested from the start to see what way Endo would get through. Well, I would have thought probably was going to be around 60 minutes or thereabouts. But yeah, for all honesty, I kind of missed the first 15 minutes as I was butchering the family's dinner. And then pretty much got the staple. Yeah, I got the staple gun out around the 30th minute. So yeah, it was fine. It just sort of reminded me of my son plays under 13s, and they have a couple of kids who swing at everything. So they have a drill where they have to pass till they get to the 5 yards out from goal, and that's what it felt like. It was. I know it's again, everybody's going to be so negative. Just it seemed to be passing, overpassing, fast passing, some mad passing, and some mad attempts. And yeah, just the struggle was real to stay awake. I never felt massively in danger, but I wouldn't say it was that different of a lineup than possibly Klopp is going to be putting out between now and February. But it seemed, it should have been easily enough.
Yeah, breaking news from Ian Doyle. Klopp has confirmed Matip has ruptured his ACL and will be out for the rest of the season. Oh,
well, that probably means that Joel Matip has played his last game for Liverpool Football Club. Then
I think that does. Oh, that's terrible. And that's Luis Garcia went out and left in a very similar way. He did that around this time of the year, and then that was the end of it. That was the end of him because his contract was up.
It was such an innocuous passage of play that ended up with Matip getting injured, right in between the two benches along the side, and that is a bummer. But it does free up another player for a mention on the tribute show, because I think we can probably start classifying Matip as a former Liverpool player at this point, and he will deserve some love one way or the other. That's a real way to really take air out of what was already.
It completely caught me off guard. I was just looking at it before it flashed. I was like, oh, gold.
What next, Chris? Did Man City find a way to draw 2 goals back against Aston Villa? How else do you want to ruin our night?
No, we're still losing 1-0, so you know.
Oh, okay, well that's good. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the lineup, go ahead.
I was going to say, people will sleep on one thing though. That does put Villa 2 points behind us, which is sort of snuck up me a little bit. I was like, oh shit, that's quite close, isn't it?
Yeah. That's they're a serious outfit, Aston Villa, and they got a proper manager and they got a damn good squad of players there. So I, for one, had them tipped to finish 4th at the start of the year, so I'm feeling quite bullish about all that as well. But I mean, yeah, in terms of the lineup, like I thought it was a kind of a tough one to predict when I was thinking about it this morning. Of you could see a curveball, you could see a Harvey Elliott get thrown in there. You could see. I'm not sure where Bradley is on his road to recovery. You might see somebody like that, but it's getting to the point now where, I mean, to go off of, if anybody hasn't seen or listened to Monday Night Show with Gav, Phil, and Pete, I would highly recommend you give it a listen, because that was absolutely glorious in terms of talking about our squad depth. But that's a good squad. It seems like we're consistently able to make 4, 5, 8, 9 changes and still put out teams that you look at it and you go, I'm fully confident that team is strong enough to get us over the line. And again, it wasn't the romp that I was hoping it was, but also it wasn't a complete refereeing disaster class by one Mr. Hooper that also could have been expected as well. But he was calling fouls at least. He had 3 fouls called in the first 4 minutes, and that's when McAllister was kind of stepped on, when he gets taken out from behind and he falls underneath another one of the Sheffield United players. I think it was Hammer. Just ends up stepping on his ankle a little bit, and then there's an extended delay in the game while McAllister receives treatment and comes back on, and then eventually ends up taking another one and then going off injured. So fingers crossed on the McAllister thing. Hopefully it's not as bad news as the Joel Matip one. But I mean, really for me, the biggest points were like the 10th minute, Joe Gomez decides to do some sort of Cruyff turn on the halfway line, loses it. It's a 2v1. Trent does a pretty good job getting back. Gomez races back to try to even up the numbers. Trent gets a heel on the pass from the one Sheffield United player. I think it was from Archer to McAteer, and it loops over his head. He chests it down. He gets a shot up. Kelleher, this is pretty much his only work for the entire game. And I mean, Goldie, that's kind of what we want to see from Kelleher, because he was admittedly shaky against Fulham on the weekend. Pretty much the only thing I can think of that he was called into action to do tonight was in the 10th minute when the game was still there to be decided, and he stood up and did what we need our keeper to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, football's off the actual 90 minutes as a narrative, and obviously I don't really get involved in an awful lot of the social media clamor for calling somebody done, washed, or whatever straight away. So yeah, any game where he gets to keep a clean sheet, doesn't have to do a lot, but covers what he has to do well. Good news for us, because I'm still kind of reeling from your Matty news. So I mean, it's starting to shape up. I think for a lot of teams that injuries is going to be an issue for the next 6 weeks. So yeah, if our keeper, who I guess was never expecting to be playing Premier League games, is now going to be playing possibly up to 4 thereabouts, depending on what more bad news Klopp has to drop. He I don't recall at any point where, outside the voice in your head about whatever he's roaring about online came into my head. Solid. He was thereabouts. I never really, I said off camera to Chris that always the problem with a 1-goal lead is somebody could be trying to put a cross in and they hit it wrong and it goes in the far corner or something. So no, I thought his ball distribution was great. They certainly went to him an awful lot. So, yeah.
Get in the Villa. There you go. Final score. 1-0 Villa.
Just to put that out in context, that's 3 wins in 9 now for City. But
not great. Not doing great. Old Pep is just gonna be absolutely fuming over that, I'd imagine.
He's slowly but surely winding up to becoming an Irishman of the 70s who will just self-implode as the world mounts against him. So 6-minute rant up to this game, so I reckon he's in for a good 15-minute one tomorrow. Like monologue.
So that's now no wins in four straight games without a win. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I believe if we'd gone on a run like that, you could imagine the pressure that would come up. Oof. So it'd be interesting because that's keep throwing away leads.
Yeah. Well, to take a leaf out of Matt's book and always look at the positive side of life. I thought I'd messed up because I thought we were on for a romp tonight. I switched my captain from Haaland to Mo, and Mo got 6 points, whereas Haaland got 2 for being a captain tonight. So, win.
There you go. Exactly. You got to like all that. Bracky, I'm going to come on to what, for me, outside of our 2 goals, which, of course, we're going to talk about a fair bit because there's not a lot else. To me, this is the biggest talking point outside of our 2 goals. The 17th minute, Sheffield United have a counter. It's 2v1 against Virgil van Dijk. He does what Virgil does, that famous 2v1 against Spurs a few years ago, where he cuts the pass out completely. He waits until the last minute. He slides over. He gets a block in, and he blocks it. I thought the defending was absolutely fabulous. Like, it's exactly what you want your center half to do. And on the international feed, we had, I believe it's Karen Carney and Efan Ekoku. It's definitely Efan Ekoku. I looked it up because
I've heard about Efan Ekoku, who apparently says he should have got in there sooner. Why is he letting him go so late? Why isn't this? I'm also going, Efan Ekoku, 2 things. 1, you were never a defender. 2, it's knowing your players. You know, it was like when we had the famous Tottenham one it's because he knows it was Sissoko, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thinking, this guy can't hit. This guy can't score because he's not known for it. So do you know what? I'm gonna make him shoot because if he slides it to Son, I'm knackered. And he left it because he couldn't slide it to the better player. And he's doing what all good defenders told to do is make the striker make a decision. Don't make it easy for them. You know, make them think what they're going to do. Because he's dying for Van Dijk to either dive in so he can slip it inside, or dive in and get a penalty. And because he goes, no, you shoot. And then he's still got that yard of pace. He snaps in. Excellent world-class defending. Van Dijk, that's how Van Dijk did defend. He kind of sort of went away from that last season, but he's definitely had a word with himself and sort of got himself back in order. He was great. I mean, I thought he was best player on the pitch. But it's what you needed. Captain's example. And the good thing, if you want to be positive head on, is that's 2 games running now. Our attack hasn't really fired. None of the attacking threat we have has fired. But we've had midfielders and defenders caught with goals, which is something we weren't getting last year. Last year it was literally like, well, if Mo or Darwin or Jota don't score, we're fucked, really, because none of the lads in midfield or defence are going to score. So what we're going to do? Whereas at least now we're looking at a side that can score from all areas, which is something we haven't had for a little while. So again, they're the positives you can take out of the game.
Yeah. I was just completely blown away because I was writing in my notes of how perfect a way of defending that 2v1 break was. And then Ekoku goes on for like a minute. Just, that is not how you defend. That's just wrong. He should immediately be making a beeline right over. And it's just like, holy shit. It's like he got warped from a time machine from the 80s or something like that and doesn't understand how the modern game is played.
Well, he played for Wimbledon, so there was only one way of playing when you played for Wimbledon in the 90s. You know what I mean? It kind of says so.
Yeah.
I had Michael Brown, which at first I thought was Leon Osman. I was thinking, he's a bit anti-Liverpool. I was Leon Osman, and then I went, it's Michael Brown, and that explains why ex-Sheffield United. But to be fair to Michael Brown, he was going, that's brilliant defending. He said he's made him shoot when he doesn't want to. He said that's what we didn't want to do. So.
Yeah. So then, we started a procession of corners. In the first half, I think we ended up with 9 corners in the first half. And finally, on lucky number 7, and I don't know, Goldie, if it was the butt crack from Trent Alexander-Arnold.
That's the bit we all remember. Going, Trent's got his ass out.
He zoomed, like the camera operator zooms right in on it just before he takes it. But before that, there was a chance for a dubious VAR check. I believe it was Gakpo that was hauled to the ground in one of our multiple corners that came before that. And on this one, ball gets floated in, and for the first time I can remember, Virgil van Dijk doesn't volley a ball. out of the stadium. Instead, he puts it into the back of the net. That's a nice change, isn't it, Goldie?
Yeah. Well, the first thing, Matt, to introduce you to the Irish language, we call that a builder's arse. It's a certain way of wearing your trousers.
It's a plumber's crack over here.
Yeah.
Plumber's crack. Yeah.
Well, very popular. And I was most impressed that Trent has added that to his arsenal of distracting.
You would die to get that joke in all day.
No, I haven't. It was just I've seen a lot of builders' arses, and it's very distracting. And
I'll stop stalking builders.
Well, I can't help myself. There is restraining orders in most of Dublin, but there's still a lot of building going on. So, to be honest with you, the question became, how was Van Dijk pretty much the entire penalty box to himself? So he had all the time in the world, as Louis Armstrong would say, and he connected perfectly. But it did make me worry that when they started going back on a check on it, I was like, something has to have happened. Like, at least somebody covering for a header.
Yeah, I looked back the old game. They were hanging off it, pulling his shirt, hanging off it. And the one time one fella tries to run at him, he just bounced off him, which is just comical. Because then you can see that I think he was more embarrassed the way he was lying down, going, "Please give a free kick, because that looks terrible." I just bounced off him.
No, it was a great strike. To be honest with you, I was still kind of obsessing over the builder's arse that I probably didn't really pay that much attention to the actual strike, but he did what he had to do, and I don't necessarily think it was the world's greatest corner, but it's 1-0, and that they ran out of staples at that point, so it gave me hope.
Well, you're going to need him for the second half, that's for sure. I mean, Chris, it ends up looking like an absolutely perfect corner delivery from Trent because of the sheer amount of space that Virgil finds himself in. But I mean, we've seen him get on the end of innumerable number of corners coming in, and he invariably skies them. Sometimes they bounce off the top of the bar, are volleyed up by a short arm goalkeeper, and then headed in for the most hilarious winner ever. But usually they just end up in the stands. So a good change, his first goal of the year.
It is, yeah. I mean, the bad thing is, a minute or two later, he has a corner, and the header's easier. He actually misses the easy one. The header's the one you expect him to score. But listen, Virgil should always get more goals than he does. I mean, he's ridiculously heavily marked now because everyone knows what he is. But I think him and Konate should always get more goals than they do because I think they're so dominant in the air. But listen, it's what you want from your captain, stepping up when the others aren't. Because I actually thought after we went 1-0, we actually were a bit lively for a good 10 minutes and started to create a few more chances. Not massively clear-cut ones, but it at least made me stay awake for another 10 minutes, which was always a positive.
Your guys' life is so tough. Yeah, that's a good point, though, Chris, because I do have noted down after we scored the goal that we had a couple of moments where we had some really good link-up play. Like I got Mo to Trent to Szoboszlai. The ball ends up going out for a corner. Then Ibou Konate plays a really good long ball up to Szoboszlai, who feeds Trent in. Trent skies it well over. 42nd minute, Joe Gomez cut in on his right foot, and I'll never not want Joe Gomez to shoot. I'll never not want it. It could be tied, or we could be down and needing to draw the game back in the 95th minute, and I'm still just going to have this instinctive thing that just says, "Shoot, Joe, shoot." But we get into the halftime. I mean, they had a late counterattack in the 6th minute of added time in the first half, and once again, Virgil van Dijk was there. Oh, before that, sorry, Alexis McAllister off of a throw-in. I mean, a throw-in, I think he chests it, spins on the half volley, and forces a save out of Fotheringham. What a goal that would have been. I mean, he's clearly got the confidence flowing through him right now. But we get to halftime.
Konate had a brain fart again, didn't he? He's got this thing at the moment where he just wants to wrestle everything. He gets to win everything. And that's when he gives away stupid free kicks just before the halftime whistle. He needs to have a chat with Virgil. Just chill out a bit. Honestly, he was just trying to fight everything and didn't need to.
Yeah, he had a not great game stepping into the shoes of Joel Matip, and that's unfortunate because we're going to need to rely on Ibou Konate a lot.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players though that he probably needs a couple of games to get back into rhythm. The benefit of Joel Matip, maybe because he had a lot of practice, was when he come back from an injury, you'd like he'd never been away. He had that great skill of you wouldn't know he'd been away for 6 months. He'd just land in and just be his usual Joel Matip self. But not everyone has that skill, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I say about Konate, like I totally agree with Chris. It just seems to be a WWE thing comes in. But he had I think it was just towards the end of the first half, he had a ropey 2 or 3 minutes where he had a ball we'd broke and he had a pretty easy ball to play out to the right, left it behind, and then didn't cover himself, Glory cover him back, and then actually did steady the ship. So I totally agree with you. You kind of sometimes I can get a little bit worried that he just has to feel he has to win everything. But he did have that couple of minutes, and I was like, Jesus, this is not looking good. But then seemed to calm down. But then again, they didn't offer a lot.
They were interested. The only mild concern I have with Matip being out now, and it is Konate starting, is defensively, generally, I'm fine with Konate. He's got the power, he's got the pace, he's everything. If you were an opposition manager, like if United are doing this or Palace are doing this, as a tactic, you would actually say to them, let Konate have the ball, because I just don't think his passing range is anywhere near what Van Dijk's is, and he doesn't do the drive and run thing that Matip does very often. That's just not his game. That's fine. That's probably the area that we probably need to tweak with Konate, is improve a little, give him something in his arsenal. So, because at the moment, I just give him the ball, and just say, okay, try and ping it 70 yards, get up that you can, and see if you can find Salah from there.
I thought some of his long passes were much better today than some of his, what you just call routine passes. Like the one you're talking about, Goldie, pretty sure it was 61st minute. He just makes an awful pass, and they break, and Trent gets back, makes a great interception, and then it's a minute later, he's caught on the ball. They start a counterattack, and that's when he ends up taking his yellow card. And from there on, he's kind of walking a bit of a tightrope for the rest of the game. Like every time the ball got near Ibou Konate, it was like easy, because he just felt like he had that in him. Like it felt like he could have that second yellow card in him today. And
I think last year we probably lose that game and we're down to 10 men. That's kind of how last year went. I think we were a bit more street smart with not giving the cheap second yellow. Bless him. Konate, he had a go, but he managed not to do it, which is good.
Well, I suppose like to go one angle on it is, if you're going to go to all the cliches about what it was for them tonight, Sheffield, I mean, they are the bottom, where you at this time of the year, you're thinking there's still a chance if we can crawl draws and points and the new manager bounce. And yeah, it's not that new of a manager. So, I mean, it seemed to be Baltic cold. So let's just give everybody a pass that it was just a difficult environment to play exciting football.
Yeah, I'm glad we played them today when he's only been there 24 hours. I don't think you'd have wanted them on Saturday, because he's had time to get into them and try whatever different thing he wants to do.
Overlapping fullbacks. Center halves. Overlapping center halves.
But it's like the new manager bounce thing. It's probably not as big a thing as we make out, but I always think if they've had like a week to prepare, that's when you're a bit more, okay, we don't know what they're going to do. He's had 24 hours. So in 24 hours, there wasn't masses he could dramatically change. Apart from getting
he was really only on the sidelines as kind of a token gesture, because I doubt he would have even have had a training session, maybe have gone through set pieces or something like that on the morning before the game sort of thing. I will point out, because Fotheringham has come in for some very deserved criticism this year because he is the goalkeeper for the worst team in the league. 54th minute, we have, I believe it was our 11th corner at that time. Trent swings it in. Mo catches it on the volley. That's a great save.
Yeah.
Mo leathers that ball. He wants that 200th goal. We all know that he's a guy that counts his own records. He knows that he's on the verge of a massive milestone, and that's a big, strong hand. I mean, Mo could have put it a foot to the other side of him, and it would have been an easy goal. But I mean, for a crap keeper on a crap team, that's a good save for him, and it kept him in the game, because at that 1-0, all the cliches, all it takes is one set piece or yada yada yada. But I will give Fotheringham credit for that. Shortly thereafter, though, is for me the downside of the game, which is Alexis McAllister going down again and needing to be subbed off. So hopefully it was precautionary. I don't know if any of the Twitter medical community has had a look and can determine what grade a tear he suffered based on how he walked off the pitch. But he looked like he was walking off the pitch all right. But at the same time, Virgil van Dijk looked like he was walking off the pitch pretty fine at Goodison back in 2020. So
but isn't the strapping because someone stood on his knee in the first half? So isn't it probably just strapping because he's probably got a cut?
Yeah, but then he copped another one just before he went.
Yeah, he got it in the ankle. He got
in the ankle. I think that's why I assume that's why he limped up a bit. It was more because he got walloped in the ankle twice. Which, I mean, the ref, to be fair to him, at least gave a free kick. He couldn't find his yellow card, but at least give a free kick.
He legitimately may have left his yellow cards in the locker room for the first.
Well, until Darwin,
I'm just gonna, I'll let it play.
Until Darwin turned up, then he went, "Oh yeah, hang on, I've got one for you."
Wow, Darwin fully deserved that one, and fuck me for having him on my fantasy team for kicking the ball away and taking a yellow card for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Yeah. But speak of the Darwin, 66-minute Darwin and Harvey Elliott come on for Luis Diaz and Mo Salah. So the wait for goal number 200 continues for Mo. It will come. There's just no two ways about that. By this point, the game was pretty flat. I mean, I'm sure you had reloaded the staple gun at this point, Goldie, to try to keep awake. Chris, you're slapping yourself with a set of driving gloves either side just to try to keep awake. And I take notes of really not exciting things.
I started reading books in SQL coding. To be honest, it was more riveting. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Look at these commas go. That's how exciting this is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I started my daily thinking about the roaming empire, as all good men on this planet do. But you actually skipped one. I'm amazed you skipped. It was before either of those came on.
Jones came on.
And that woke me up. That woke me up because it always gives me the fear. So
I thought the three lads they brought on, when they brought Jones and Elliott on a bit later, it was just keep the ball, which is pretty much what we did, and then hit Darwin on the break. That was pretty much all they were there for. It's just keep the ball. And Grafovich, when he came up for the last 10 minutes, was Liverpool saying 1-0's enough, keep the ball, don't let them touch it, and we'll be fine. But we would have been if Konate kept up kicking people, which would have been helpful.
Yeah, I mean, 10 minutes after Darwin comes on, Trent finds him with an incredible pass. It's another one to add to the worryingly growing list of Darwin Núñez missed chances. Again, Fotheringham, I thought, did well. He comes out, he makes himself big. There's not a lot of space for Núñez to get the shot around him, but it's just one of those situations where he's in. There's nobody between him and the keeper. Like, just please, just one of them. Just put it between his legs, or go around him. Just do something to put the ball in the back of the net, because at this point he's reaching desperate straits for needing a goal.
This where Núñez falls into both things can be true about him, which is I do think when he comes on, he makes an impact, as in his all-round plays, much improved. His work rate's good. He gives us a pace option in behind. We'll talk about how he sets up a goal. I mean, even last week he wasn't great in front of goal, but he's heavily involved in the setup for the third and the fourth. So we can all be happy with that, and also we're happy with Darwin, because I am. But I think it's also fair to say he's got to start being more clinical, and I think that's a fair criticism. Is he's not clinical enough, and that's what we could all say. We need him to add that to his arsenal, because if he does, he's everything you need in a number 9 then.
Sorry, I got to get to these two comments before they get lost in the shuffle. Paul Giovanni says City had a 0.00 XG versus Villa tonight. Are their minds elsewhere, you think? To which Kieran B replies, Paul, I heard Villa had 115 shots. Just pulling that number straight out of the ether.
It's also come up after 15 games. Man United have 3 points behind Man City, and that's like, this is mental.
Really?
Oh, well, they are 3 points behind Man City. What's going on? It's like this is like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So I mean, 84th minute, it was really Sheffield's last chance. They had 3 deep free kicks from kind of a left center position, and the first 2 they put in were actually quite good. The first one was early in the first half. The second one was sometime in the game. I can't exactly remember. The second one I remember because they beat the line, and Szoboszlai was the last man on the line, and he stopped. And if they were a half a yard a pace faster, they would have gotten on to the end of it. The third one, though, they completely screwed it up. We start breaking the other way. Darwin does extremely well. He feeds the ball into Elliott, and it just gets cut out at the last minute. Gravenberch then comes on. Sheffield United have a penalty shout. They take off a guy named Trusty, which add that to the list of all-time great Premier League last names. I mean, yeah, a yellow card for Norwood, whatever his first name is. And then the 4th minute of added time, Darwin Núñez, already on a yellow card, throws in a jump sliding tackle that he executes perfectly.
After fucking up his Croyd's turn, which is what you love at Darwin. He tries to go Croydon, fucks it up, but then does the best tackle you've seen in the game, and probably the best cross of the game. You go like, it's just what he's about, isn't he? You know, he's 1 minute he's brilliant, next minute he's just like, oh my word, what's going on here?
Yeah. Darren seems to kind of more and more suggest that if he has time to think about something, it works against him, because between the tackle and the energy from that, he just looked up once and ping, and it was perfect. But I'm starting to wonder, is he one of these humans that operates better instinctively rather than going, I stop now, think about this, who's available? Because my heart was in my mouth because of how silly the first yellow was. He goes for like what normally is a kamikaze tackle, gets up, I don't know whether it was a fear of not wanting to hear the ref blow or anybody kind of suggest that possibly he didn't, and just goes, right, if I distract everybody long enough, I'll just won't get booked. Lashes in the cross, perfect. What a finish. It looked, it looked, on TV, it kind of looked very ordinary. What a finish. The touch, and then he looked like, Darwin, wow.
Darwin gets credit for that involvement for the second goal, but he gets even more credit for realizing the mistake he made in our last game and binning that absolutely fucking ridiculous double hollow loaf haircut that he had, and just going back to the standard ponytail. That's all well and good, but yeah, that was life flash before your eyes for anybody else that has Darwin Núñez in your fantasy team, because when you see him like jump into that tackle of like, well, that's a second yellow, that's a red card, he's now getting sent. Oh shit, he got the ball, and then they're checking it for VAR, because you check absolutely every single thing for VAR these days. Did he get a touch on the ball is what effing the genius Ikoku had to say. And it was like, he didn't get a touch on the ball. He trapped the ball.
He trapped it,
perfect. Like perfectly. You could put that sliding tackle into a textbook and teach it, because it was brilliant. And again, like one of you said at the start of the show, Szoboszlai scores, so that's a defender and a midfielder scoring for us. So another game where our forwards just not quite fit firing and hitting the back of the net, but we're starting to pick up goals from elsewhere, and we must now be well past the number of goals from midfield that we got all last season. Like, we just have to be.
We'll have to be, yeah.
Shall I Google it? Let's have a look at where we go.
Yeah,
I don't think it's taken out to count. So give me a few minutes.
It's 4 or 5 maybe we got from midfield last season, and I mean, we've had 4 midfield goals in like the last.
To be fair, we should be able to remember them, because that's first there weren't many, were there?
Yeah. So while Chris Googles that, Goldie, who's your man of the match for today, and why was it Virgil van Dijk?
Oh,
Endo.
That's
Endo. I like it. That's a very, very good shout. Great game, didn't he?
I thought so. I mean, look, I'm not the kind of person, obviously, so well prepared that I was ever bombing around looking at videos of what he does or whatever. So I've just watched him as he played for us. Didn't get excited, didn't get down about it. But tonight, to me, every time I looked at the screen when I was after filling the stapler, he was either in their penalty box, covering the middle, or not last ditch, but being an extra defender, making a nuisance of himself. And considering I didn't think necessarily a lot of the time the ball was being moved quickly, he found his passes. I don't remember anything that he left short or played into the wrong spaces. Just seemed to be everywhere. And I thought, I said at the start when you were asking about the starting lineup, I thought this is now just going to rotate, that he does 60 minutes and somebody else comes on. But I'd say nobody was spectacular tonight. And that's not being negative. But he was everywhere. He was literally everywhere. He was like he was told, you're probably not going to play another game until the middle of January. Give it everything. And he just seemed to be everywhere, stopping what he had to stop. Because most of the time I had to keep double checking the screen going, our number 3 is in their penalty box. And then our number 3 was back. So, I thought Endo, I think sometimes the man of the matches clear the ball off the line or put in the biggest tackle or scored goals. But he covered the pitch tonight, covered and passed, got rid of the ball, didn't try to do anything particularly spectacular, but kept it ticking over. So, yeah, I went with Endo. I enjoyed him.
I absolutely love it because that's pointing out and giving credit to a performance that's pretty easy to go under the radar because, like, I thought Van Dijk did everything he needed to do at the back. I mean, a clean sheet obviously harkens to that, and he gets the goal. That's all important. But all throughout the game, yeah, I just thought Endo was fantastic. And I mean, if I have to play devil's advocate, which I will always choose to do, the one knock against Endo when we've seen him this season is that he's just been like not a half step slow, but like an eighth of a step slow. And Sheffield United are so slow because, again, they are terrible, that he looked great. But, I mean, he did everything we wanted him to do. So, like, it's nice seeing that performance from Endo today, that if McAllister needs the weekend off or, he's not going to be fit until the Manchester United game, I'm now fully confident that Wataru Endo can step in there and he can be that number 6 for us because, yeah, he was what we needed today and kept that ball ticking over. And Bracky, what about you? Did your Googling yield any results?
It did. Are we counting Fabio Carvalho as a midfielder?
Sure. That's one goal, right?
If we count, oh no, we got 3. So in the league, if you include Fabio Carvalho, we got 8 league goals or 13 in all comps. Just put into context, own goals was 4. Fucking hell. So, I haven't checked what we've done this year, but I think I would like to think that's going to get beat.
Yeah, we're. I would have thought we had beaten it already. So I mean, if you take Carvalho's 3 out of there, I'm almost certain one of them came in that 7-0 rout of Rangers.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So if you take his out, it's 10 in all comps, 6 in the league. So there we go. So let's see. Szoboszlai's got 2 in the league. Wataru's got 1 in the league.
McAllister has 1.
1 in the league. So that's 4 in the league.
And we're getting there.
So if we do all comps. It's already halfway, which is quite good. All comps. McAllister's got 1. Gravenberch has 2.
Yeah.
So it's a 3. Wataru Endo has 2, so it's a 5. Szoboszlai now has 3, so it's 8. So yeah, we're on 8. So we're not far off. So
no, we could be at that point or past it by the end of the weekend with the rate that it's going.
Probably beat that the United game.
Yeah. Looking forward to that one. It's another. I cannot wait until the anniversary of that 7-0 comes up. I'm hoping that Gav does a remembrance show for it because it was absolutely fantastic. But last year, that game was the first day when I started 2 weeks of holidays. And this year, when we play them, start a 2 weeks holidays. So I cannot wait to get colossally hammered and come on and do a YouTube show after we absolutely slaughter Man United again. But back to the point at hand, Chris Brack, who was your man of the match?
It probably I've got to go with Van Dijk, but Goldie stole all my points. I was going to do a shout out to Endo because I also thought he was exactly what you want your number 6 to do. Took his yellow when he had to take his yellow, swept up where he wanted him to, and was neat and tidy with the ball. I think it was the guys in front of him were great. Interestingly, McAllister actually looks more comfortable as a 6, which you wouldn't have thought. And to be fair to McAllister, he did one thing which he's been accused of not doing all season, which was we got caught in a breakaway. He was last man, swept up perfectly, got a tackle in, what you wanted to do, what people say he can't do. So, no, but I think it's Virgil because I think it's a captain's performance, kind of old school Sammy Hippier, a little bit of cleared everything, headed everything, bollocked his teammates when they needed a bollocking to switch on. We're not letting this slip. We're making, if this is going to be a 1-0, it's staying a 1-0. And that's all you needed, and look, it's another clean sheet, which is good. Helps Kelleher's confidence well, who actually thought I had one save to make, did it, and keeps it nice and simple. So I'd give it VVD, but I've no problem if you want to give it to Endo because I actually thought Endo played very well too.
Plus, Endo managed to put on an Academy Award performance when he was getting his yellow. Took the gum shield, tried to take the gum shield out.
I think they should have
biggest gobber in high definition, and still looked like I don't know why that happened. Why am I being booked? It was the most cynical yellow card you're going to see all night.
He's an innocent lamb. He's an absolute.
Also, he takes the gum shield. He seriously takes the gum shield. They all sit back with, what's going on here? He's got a gum shield in. The only other footballer I've seen wear a gum shield was Gomez. He used to play goals for Spurs many years ago. He was a terrible goalkeeper.
Corelio?
That's him. Yeah, he was awful. It was absolutely dreadful.
He's a goalkeeper that played for Spurs, so it's a bit redundant.
I think they got it for PSV with Liverpool battered in the Champions League as well. So wrapped on the wall.
But yeah, I also like VVD, and I totally agree with what you said there, Bracky, about his being a captain. And I saved this comment from Red Psy from earlier. I presume it's Psy. VVD called Kelleher a world-class goalkeeper in an interview. That's our captain. And I mean, it's exaggeration. We all know that, but every so often, that's good man management. You don't just need that from the manager. You also need that from the leaders around the team to just give him a pat on the back, give him an attaboy, and that might be exactly what Kelleher's confidence needs. And we need him, and Virgil knows that we need him, and Virgil leads the team. So I'm a big, big fan of that. But yeah, it's just Virgil's defending this year has just been so much better. Like, it would be worthy of like a case study to go and compare how he defended last season to how he's defending this season. Because last season, he was just a shell. It was like he was scared of his own shadow of doing anything. And this season, he is just right back in it again. I mean, the first chance they had in the game, they swung a ball in to the near post, quite similar to the one that led to Fulham's first goal. But instead of Harry Wilson being there to tap it underneath Kelleher, it was Virgil van Dijk who just put it out for a throw-in, reset the team. Everybody goes again. Late in the game, Joe Gomez has one where the ball's kind of scrambling around back and left back. I don't know how the ball ends up at Gomez. It was a bit of a fuck up on our part. I think Kanate was involved in it, but Gomez ends up playing the ball out off of their player, and instead of it going for a corner, it goes for a throw-in, and Virgil's over, and he's screaming at him, going like, let's go, because we all know that Virgil loves his clean sheets. So we got that back again. So few more things just before we get out of here. Kevin Sullivan, he says, turn around to Saturday morning comes quick, rest, recovery, and go again. More changes incoming for Saturday. It wouldn't be Liverpool if we weren't the early kickoff on a Saturday, international break or not. So we are back on at 12:30 on Saturday, away to Crystal Palace. You expecting big changes in the lineup there, Goldie?
To be honest, I just never enjoy playing Palace. So it's just, I don't even, I'm sure you all know the stats that probably in my head, it's a game that we do better than what I think we do. I would don't ask me on the spot. I would imagine, I'll put in a shout that I wouldn't be surprised Endo plays again from the start. Just because Fulham was a big confidence builder. And tonight, again, as I say, he was everywhere. And I think a team like ours needs somebody who's going to be everywhere. So will there be changes? I would imagine there will be, probably up to 4. Front line. I know when we were talking before we came on, Gapco, I didn't think was great tonight. I was actually surprised Mo got slung first. So I don't know about Gapco. Might play Nunes from the start this time, just rotating. The back four, I'm not too sure how much more moving around he can do. The only one you can switch in is bring in the Greek. From what I can see. And McAllister now looks like it's going. I can't see him making the weekend, going by his body language, how he sat down. I just never enjoyed a Palace game. Now I know they're a different Palace without Zaha, but I just don't enjoy Palace games. They always just seem to be a team that seem to always catch us out from memory. So I can't name the changes because I'm not at your level. But I do expect changes. Half 12, don't like playing Palace, and I'm out of staples. So
there you go. Well, I'll drag you down to my level and beat you with experience, as the old saying goes. What about you, Chris? You expecting like Ashley L here, she figures that Simicast, Gravenberch, Nunes, and maybe Elliott get to start against Palace. And that kind of feels like the platoon swap that we're going to be doing. Like Simicast, I think, is a nailed on. He's going to come back in.
I think Simicast is nailed on because I think against Palace you're going to need width and pace, and that's just not going to play to Joe Gomez's strengths. So I think you want Trent and
Simicast against Elise though. Oof.
Yeah, but we tried that Gomez against a pacey winger. I just think you need. I also think we'll dominate the ball because we normally do. So, and to be fair, I did well against Foden. So yeah, I expect Simicast to come in. I think Trent will keep his place. I assume as long as Konate comes through tonight, no problem. You would leave him in. I think Szoboszlai's been told he's playing all three, and then he's getting nowhere near the Union game.
Yeah,
I think there's certain players. I think Van Dijk, Salah, Szoboszlai. I think they've all just kind of been told, Trent, you're playing all these 3 games, and then you're not even on the plane. You know what I mean? You're nowhere near it. I think he'll start McAllister number 6 as long as he's not injured. Depends what the injury's like. I think Szoboszlai plays. I think one of Jones or Gravenberch comes in on the left. There's an argument for either. Jones because he'll keep the ball and recycle it, which he'll need to against Palace. But the benefit of Gravenberch is he's more of a runner with the ball, so it depends what way Klopp wants to go with it. Nunes will start. I think Salah will start, and I would start Gakpo over Diaz. I think Diaz was a little bit quiet tonight. I think Gakpo also gives you an extra bit of control with the ball, and he is a left winger, so he can play there. So I think that could be quite handy. Our record at Sellers Park is all right. I think it's not as bad as we think. I know it was a horrendous 0-0 last time, but before that we drew last year 0-0. Then before that we won the previous 8 games. Last game we lost there was 2014 when we lost 3-1, which I believe was when we had Ricky Lambert up front, which says all we need to know about that Brendan Rodgers side.
Yeah, I think with Palace as the opponent, I think the memories of the 13-14 season.
Yeah,
I think that stings so much that it just sticks in the memory.
Yeah. Palace are like a Brentford, aren't they?
Yeah.
If you play to your best, you'll always beat them. If you just off it, especially with them at home, they've got players here, like you said. Elise is ridiculous. Really, really good. And Edwards found some form in front of goal.
Which is shocking because he looked like he was going to be an absolute flop. But they do have a pair of good center halves, and that gets you halfway to a mid-table finish in the Premier League.
They were apparently booed off at half-time with losing 1-0 to Bournemouth, and it finished 2-0 Bournemouth at home.
It did finish 2-0 Bournemouth. I mean, I'd have to say that Iraola has firmly removed himself from that sack race that Paul Heckingbottom took the blue first-place ribbon in for it.
And interestingly for them, Mitchell, the left back, who's decent left back, went off injured after 29 minutes and replaced by Nathaniel Klein. So again, that's kind of plays to hands. I always like playing someone like a Palace when it's their 3rd game of a week because they're not used to 3 games a week, whereas the Liverpool's, United, Cities were used to 3 games. Villa got used to 3 games a week. So I sometimes think that always stretches squads. So if you're going to play Palace, it's probably the best time to play them when they're the 3rd game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're coming up to our last of these 3 eminently winnable games to set us up for the big Christmas run of United, Arsenal, who's in there, Burnley, and then Newcastle as we flip into the new year. So
and West Ham in the cup.
Yeah, the cup is as the cup does. I'm not too worried about it.
I want to win the cup.
The other ones here, and I mean, this might be good fodder for Gav and whoever he has on his guest for tomorrow morning's 30, which if you're up and around at 10 o'clock in the morning, Irish Standard Time, or 5 in the morning, my time, check out the 30. Gav on wearing his weareliverpool.ie toque and chatting football for 10 minutes and then random nonsense for the other 20 minutes. It's one of the funniest parts of my day listening to that podcast. But a question like Ashley L's of, does Matip's ATL injury make us push for a defender in January? That's
the way Liverpool are. It might be like a Luis Diaz situation, as in if they've got someone targeted for the summer and there is an opportunity to get them in January, which and cost wise it's not outrageous. Like you tried to get Konate and they were told a flat no.
Yeah.
Then I think they'll go for it. Otherwise, I can see him just make do and go, I'll trust Kwanzaa. Personally, I think that's a risk because Joe Gomez is now at the moment the first choice backup right back, the first choice backup left back, and the first choice backup centre back, and he loves an injury joke. So, and Konate's not renowned for playing 3 games a week. So, I think if you get through the Christmas period, if you can get a centre back in that is something Klopp wanted in the summer, I think you try to. I also think we need another forward bringing in the summer, in the January. Personally,
so, did you say a forward?
Yeah, because I'd send Ben Doak out on loan, and I'd get a 6th choice striker because Jota, his injury record's always a bit of a worry, and I think Doak needs a run of games, and you'll lose Salah till at least mid-February as well, and you got to keep replenishing that side of it. The old Fergie tactic: if in doubt, buy someone who scores goals because it always helps.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Bear here with the shout says Endo is also a center back, so.
He loves a header.
What you want is a 5'10" center back that wears a mouth guard.
Works well for United.
Well, it's undoubtedly bad news because I mean, like all fan bases, everybody starts getting worked up on ideas about transfer, and I don't think necessarily we would have been. Well, you would imagine knowing possibly it was Matty's last 6 months that they've been scouting all that. So maybe it brings it forward. But as I say, I don't know what our war chest is, and I'm not sure we would have been looking. And like, I don't want to get Johnny Dowder, but like, for instance, with the injuries we're picking up, if there's any other issues, whether it looked innocuous with McAllister or whatever, but don't know. I'm starting to hate transfer windows as much as I hate playing Crystal Palace. So
I think
dear Santa. Dear Santa, 2 staple guns, please.
I think sometimes that's the problem with transfer windows is the amount of people that believe a random Twitter account. Oh, Twitter account says we pulled out of this person, and that becomes gospel. And half the time you go like, well, I thought we were even in for him, but it's a myth that everyone thinks we were. Thiago, I don't think I'm not even sure you'll see Bajcetic this season. I'm debating whether you'll see Thiago.
Well, the Thiago one. I said that to, I think it was you and Kev after the show. You might have been there too, Goldie. It was like, I don't know, like 2 months ago. And I said, I don't think he'll ever play for us again. I just don't think he'll ever play for us again. He's going to want a swan song in his career. Swan song? Yeah, I think I said that right. In his career, he's not going to want to come back for Liverpool and just get injured again. I think we're going to buy somebody in January. I think it's going to be Andre. And we're going to not register Thiago for the rest of the season. If somebody comes in, say a Barcelona, a move that he wants to take for $5 million, you just take the deal and you let the guy go back to Barcelona.
I think they keep Thiago to the end of the season and they just don't register Doak.
Yeah.
I personally think Doak will go in January and low, which actually
the issue with Doak is that Doak only needs to be registered for Europe. Doak isn't taking up a spot in the Premier League roster. So if you wanted to sign a non-homegrown player, you need to find a spot on that roster, and to me, it's the obvious one is just Thiago doesn't.
The obvious one will be Joel Matip.
Oh shit! Yeah, quite obviously.
I know that's really brutal and horrible, but if he's done his ACL, that's a horrible injury to come back from.
He's just had the injury announced, and Bracky's already sending him off to the whatever you call giraffe glue factory. I presume you can make glue out of giraffe hooves, but I think you're right, because when we were doing shows in the summer transfer window, and as we approach the end of the window and people are going, we need a center half, I was of the opinion that we don't need a center half if we get incredibly lucky with injuries. And we were medium lucky with injuries. Konate picked up a little bit of a niggle. Trent got a little bit of a knock. And then Robertson got hurt. But that's the one place that we do have a pretty obvious like-for-like replacement, even though the quality gap is large, I will say. But Matip and Gomez and Konate, for the most part, were staying healthy. And it was like, and then Kwanzaa comes onto the scene and it was like, hey, it's borne fruit. We didn't need to go out and spunk a whole load of cash on a 4th or 5th or 6th choice center half that's not going to get that much game time. So now hopefully we speed that process up, because there's no doubt that they've been looking at Matip's replacement. Like, there's just not a question that they've been looking at people to replace Joel Matip, because he's reaching the end of his life cycle. So Hopefully. Madge Apple is bursting my bubble here and suggesting that Pep Linder's best-selling author is suggesting that Thiago will be back in the thick of it in January. So that's,
I think you will. That's really going to upset you. I know.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, it's just I just don't think he's going to play for us again. There's just something about it that
I've got a feeling we get at least one, maybe two in January. We seem to. Oh, quite. Last couple of January, we've always picked someone up, haven't we? Last couple of January.
Well, everybody says it's hard to buy in January, but I would say go and look at our January transfers, and if you discount Stephen Cocker, our January transfer business is pretty fucking great.
Well, there was Kabak at the hologram, which was just fucking marvelous.
That's fine. Coutinho, Sturridge, Suarez, Van Dijk,
Luis Diaz,
Cody Gakpo. We do pretty damn good business in January, but we need to do the business on Saturday at 12:30 when we go away to Sellers Park to play Crystal Palace is the main thing because we are 2 points. 2 points behind Arsenal. What are we ahead of City now? Four ahead of City?
4 ahead of City.
4 ahead of City. So we are further ahead of Man City than Man City are ahead of Manchester United. And those are just the little things that you can use to keep you warm on what I'm sure is another Baltic night over in the British Isles. Goldie, anything else you'd like to toss in before we get out of here?
Yes. Because it was easy to overlook. Frustrated me a bit tonight with some of the champagne stuff, but if half the squad can feel as cocky as Trent is walking around the pitch at the moment, I tell you, boys, start believing. That man is feeling himself. He's like he wore a white suit to a festival. He is happy in his nappy. So if there's confidence can rub off from how good he's feeling, I meant to give him an honorary mention. He did do some stuff that you just went, oh man, chill. But I mean, that is a young man playing with a lot of confidence. He's the greatest advertisement for cutting dreads ever because he is strutting around. And like this is the one he tried to play with the outside of his right foot that was meant to kind of loop, beat 4 players and curl and drop into the box. Stupid.
On the first time from a turnover and play in the middle of the park. And he hits it a little long, a 65-yard ridiculous ball. And it was like he was cussing himself out for not pulling that off.
The fact that he was feeling himself, smelling himself that much, that he thought he could do it, I think that's a positive sign. So, I mean, right. I wouldn't have always been like Trent. But man, if we could just half the team could start feeling as cocky as him, honestly, I think we're definitely in there with a shout. I'm not gonna say anything about it. He's feeling good, and I like it.
Yeah, that's title talk right there from Chris Golding. What about you, Bracky? Anything else?
This makes a good point. It's a potential centre half. Is the one from Palace? Is it Mark Gahey? Homegrown. He's decent. Actually, he'd be fine as a squad option for centre half. But the other start that came up today was Liverpool have now scored in 32 consecutive games. The record the club holds is 34. So that's why I'm always quite relaxed that I always assume Liverpool are going to get something back in a game because we've just got the firepower. And that's stretching back to last season. I think it was March of last year when we didn't score. So yeah, listen.
The 0-0 against Chelsea, which is up there with the 0-0 against Palace for the worst 90 minutes of Liverpool I've watched in a while.
But since then, we've scored in every game, so can't knock it really.
I don't think scoring is going to be an issue. I think when you're sitting down as a Liverpool fan, you're watching 96 minutes of games. You also are aware of the chances that we're not scoring. But I'm not worried about us scoring because we're creating a phenomenal amount. It's just if we could tighten up in defence, a few clean sheets, and a team of Trents of attitude, we're there, lads. We're in there. We're definitely. It's normally Christmas separates things, and we get Palace out of the way Saturday, we can start strutting a bit because it has to come good.
Oh, it's not Christmas Day.
Oh yeah.
I was looking at Goldie because I want to get him to go the positives. Oh, we top Christmas Day, Goldie.
Sorry?
Oh, we top on Christmas Day.
Here it is, Bracky, for you, right?
It's a yes or no question. I don't need your life story. Just a yes or no question. Come on, I'll be top on Christmas Day. He's dying to say no.
Yes.
Good lad. That's what we like to hear. Good lad.
I'll take you one better, Chris. I'm going to tell you that we're going to be top on the 22nd of May after the season is over, because there's a title there to be won. There is no outstanding team in the league. There is no absolute dead cert in the league, and that includes Liverpool. And we are in with an absolute puncher's chance, and I think we got some guys that can throw haymakers on this team. We got our big players. Some of them are stepping up when we need them to. Virgil, Trent right now. Well, some of the other ones are a little bit off the boil. As long as Mo doesn't get hurt in the AFCON, and I came up with an idea today. I think the difference between us winning the league and not winning the league is whether or not Darwin Núñez can hit 15 goals. If Darwin Núñez hits 15 goals in the league, we win the Premier League this year. And if he doesn't, we come up agonizingly close again, and we are all furious at the end of May. And nobody wants that to happen. So let's be
my only apprehension about being top, it just brings out then no team has lost the league from being top at Christmas. That's the idea.
We have though. We've done that loads. We've done that loads.
Liverpool.
We have the record for that.
And Arsenal did it last season. So, hey, don't worry about it. We're in a steam company. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please hit the thumbs up, like button on your way out. If you haven't already become a member and you like what we're doing here on the Talkin Kop channel, and you want to take part in some of the members-only shows live and in the chat, which I would highly recommend, it is the best way to take in the Talkin Kop experience. So if you're listening on a download afterwards, if you can find the time to tune into the shows when they're live, get into the YouTube, whether it's on your phone or on desktop, and get into the chat. The chat is absolutely hilarious. We got a great group of regulars in here that make the channel everything that it is. So we do some of the shows that go behind a little members wall for a day or two, and then they get released for podcast download. So everything is still available for free, but if you want to be there to take part in all the shows live as they happen, like the title shows with Chris, we got another episode of the title show coming out this week.
Friday night, we're doing episode 4.
Which is what? Man United till COVID?
Oh, I'll tell you. Somebody Google shit. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm done after the
I thought you were a semi-professional.
No. Just halfway. So it's back for Leicester. So it's Leicester Boxing Day up to West Ham at the end of January.
Oof, there you go. That is a great run of fixtures. So yeah, that's episode 4 of the title program. Gab was just on the other night with Keith hosting, giving tribute to 3 of his unsung heroes. No spoiler alert, one of them was definitely John Barnes. But there's nothing better, for me at least, than listening to Gav talk about John Barnes. It's absolutely one of the joys on the channel.
He never mentions it.
It's hard to tell whether or not he was a fan of John Barnes, but I'm going to lean towards he might have liked John Barnes.
I don't think he's ever mentioned it to us.
Well, he went on about it last night.
It's a known fact in Dublin that he still wears his John Barnes pajamas that he had when he was 10.
And sleeps inside of an A-Team van-shaped tent that he got for Christmas when he was just a little kid. So that's the joy of the Talkin Kop. We'd encourage you to get involved if you can. What do we got coming up? There'll be a show. Gav will be on for the 30 tomorrow, and he can take you through the proper agenda because, like Chris Brack, I am not fully prepared. But on behalf of the 2 Chris's, I've been your host, Matt. We went to Bramall Lane, and we finally got a win against a newly promoted team, which I believe is the first time in the last 5 games that we played one. We stay within touching distance of the Arsenal. Man City managed to trip up to the mighty Aston Villa, who have won 14 straight home games. It's shaping up to be a tasty, tasty league, and we are going to be here to talk you through every single game after it is over. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to everybody in the chat. We'll see you guys all later. Adios.